like this is like this fear. It's like so silly and ridiculous because, just like with food, pleasure comes in all different forms, and we're so scared to really want what we want.
On the Beyond Dating podcast today, we had our special guest, Leiti Hsu, and she's the Dining Dominatrix. Can't wait for you to hear more. And our sponsor for today's episodes is Beyond, the newest dating app in town. Check it out at datebeyond.co. So tell me about yourself. You're Leiti, the Dining Dominatrix. What does that mean?
Who I am is kind of like a culmination of everything that's felt good and felt bad that I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. And I grew up this little immigrant Asian kid, Taiwanese to be exact. I was born in Taiwan. Came over to California when I was 2 years old. Had a childhood of not permission, not pleasure. Fun and enjoyment was not valued in my childhood culture with my parents. They were too busy making a life in a new place and just making sure that they took really good care of us. So what happened was that only later on in life, after a lot of just dating, not knowing anything in my 20s, I realized on the day that my mother passed away, when I happened to be making Taiwanese beef noodle soup for 120 people up at this conference called Summit Series, I realized that my first and only love language was food because my parents expressed no other love languages but feeding me. So after learning that I'm lacking the awareness of all of the other ways to connect with a person, that's really what, the day my mother died and I was making this noodle soup happen. And that was really when I realized that, the ingredients of my work and my art are food, love, permission, pleasure, fun and enjoyment, flavor and culture, which is what I'm really good at.
Wow, so tell me more about your flavors.
My flavors?
Yes.
I'm a full flavor person. My pleasures, food and sex never really took on a whole lot of guilt, because they started out fortunately very almost clean and pure. My trauma is more around identity and self-worth and around putting myself on a menu and pricing myself. I feel because my parents didn't hang out with me, they didn't, say, oh my God, thank you so much for this gift. When I would hand make something, some kind of crafty present for my mom, there was such little expression that I didn't know until recently that I had acquired this belief of I am not important because my parents just didn't pay attention to me. They didn't have fun with me. So food and sex, though, those are I'm just rah, rah, rah. Right? So when I sort of discovered sex, I was a little girl in a bathtub and had the orgasm feeling and was like, whoa, if only I could bottle this feeling up and sell it for a lot of money, it could lead to world peace. And then later on, I sort of up-leveled my dream design and thought, if I could bottle this up, sell it for a lot of money, then use that money to give it away to all people, then it could really lead to world peace, an extra abundant feeling about not just sex, literally sex, but just pleasure, the pleasure of living. It's so hard to quote unquote stop to smell the roses. But if the people who are making the decisions in this world, the people with the power, the resources, the people we task with this decision making, they have to give a damn about pleasure. Like they have to have had the pleasure of, warm tomatoes with burrata, like fresh from the garden, from this farmer chef, or, the pleasure of Hokkaido Uni in the market, in Sapporo.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Like if people, right, do we trust the people to be making really optimized decisions about climate change if they don't actually like embody, like, I give myself the permission to have pleasure. So the permission to have pleasure and connection through food and sensuality and way more through the arts, through music, through vibration. That's some of what my experiences and my conversations that I love to host are all about.
Wow. Now my mouth is watering. I'm excited. So what's a tip for somebody who's looking to explore these pleasures? Like, how do you get over that little hump that might be holding you back?
That is a great question. So I think that like 3 tips coming to mind are, the yes and principle to doing comedy. Like what I've noticed is that, for instance, let's just say with food, people more often than not are just not comfortable getting out of their comfort zones. And a lot of our hang-ups about food, like, oh, I don't eat that, or, oh, that's gonna be not good for me, so I have guilt around it. A lot of that may come from, childhood beliefs, the way your parents raised you. It's most likely coming from other things, like non-food related fears and a need to be in control, right? So I find it a shame that people really are less likely than not to get out of comfort zone when it comes to food or sex, etc. So one of the first things is, when you feel this feeling of no, like, or, you have this initial feeling of, oh, that's not for me, like, it's probably a good idea to pause every single time and assess, like, what is it about this thing that, that I'm fearful of? Like, stuff in the butt. Like, why is that? What is this? Because you think people might judge you? Because they might find out? Because we have this very, very, like, linear, like, men must only, not like stuff in the butt because you might be, like, possibly able to, feel sexual pleasure from anything other than female identifying, like, if you're like a cis straight male, like, this is like this fear. It's like so silly and ridiculous because, just like with food, pleasure comes in all different forms, and we're so scared to really want what we want. And wanting what we want and wanting so much of it, like, for instance, women being hungry for cock. Like, are we allowed to say all the words here?
Of course.
Okay, cool.
Speak freely, please.
So it's like that still is something that, well, as I speak about this on podcasts, the only person that should have a problem with this is, I suppose, my Asian father. Because otherwise don't judge me, right? But it is still a very vulnerable thing to admit to one's own hunger. Wanting is such a scary thing because once you really want a thing, many things all at the same time, or wanting too much of it, being too much, like, that's something that is I find overshadows women identifying folks. So really, like, the yes and the really examining your own fear of wanting, and then examining all of this to say, like, what is it that I'm actually scared of, and then looking at childhood, like, that's kind of the set of ways to really allow yourself to let your guard down and get out of your comfort zone. Food, sex, and beyond.
Wow, that's amazing. So, about food. What is the Dining Dominatrix experience? If I go to dinner with you, what happens?
So my experiences it really depends on what it is that the person or persons would like, is right for that particular goal, intention, occasion, right? Like I'm always surprised, like people are like, how many people usually at Are Your Things? And like, I would be like, well, how many people usually at Are Your Things? Like, I don't just do one-on-one, but I can do, 1 with 2 and 1 to 200. It just depends on what we want, right? And you know what? I would say what we want, but also what we don't even know that we want. So that's something I really enjoy opening folks up to, is that really amazing feeling when you can connect someone to what they didn't even know that they wanted, and they connect back with themselves more fully. They're like, oh my God, I forgot I did this, roller skating when I was a kid, or wow, I really love stuff in the butt, and who would have thunk, but this one partner opened me up to it. Or, oh wow, I actually love expressing myself through jewelry, but I never thought I would. All these things that are brand new. And by the way, discovering those brand new things, when isn't it true that it's actually our when we choose to partner in whatever way that partnership looks like, that's the opportunity to really up-level together.
So how would we up-level together?
Okay, so I didn't actually answer your question because I got so excited. Can you tell that like the people who date me, they have to really be able to hold, yeah. Because I'm in dreamland right now. You're asking me all these questions that make my insides tighten up.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's what I love.
So for instance, I've hosted and created experiences around the world, even in Antarctica. I'm really excited to say that I used the word compersion in the New York Times, not just about food, not just about sex, but about any kind of love and pleasure and the joy of food and drink. I feel ecstatic when I see someone having really good sushi omakase or noodle soup, and probably would like to be having some at the same time. But yeah. So I might do one-on-one sessions where I help you to surrender to the magic, through coaching couched in cocktails and way more, a night or a weekend of experiences that I put together. Well, fun fact, one of my past companies is a venture fund, a travel planning startup. So we were really scaling travel planning. So I have the ideas and the connects around the world to make something very special happen, food and beyond. We might meet up with some experts and dominatrices locally. So it could be a whole entire set of experiences. And through those experiences, we just discover more about ourselves. And by the way, what's fun about this and why I enjoy my work and art so much is that I'm also learning about myself at the same time. So it's not this one-sided thing where, I'm just focused on you, but I'm really sharing some really private and vulnerable stuff about me so that we can, again, up-level together. So that's a one-on-one experience. A one-on, let's say 2 experiences, sometimes couples. I work with couples, whether it's for dining experiences and more. So for Valentine's Day in mid-lockdown 2021, Justin and Hailey Bieber wanted to have sushi, the best of the best at home. So I brought my roving omakase concept, omakase being not just about sushi, but the feeling of trust me, So I brought a chef, just the 2 of us, and we really took care of them. And then the one-to-many could be, let's say, a dream dinner party for 65 folks. We always sell out. In residency at Gospel in Soho, New York City, which is the dinner party out of my imagination of art. And then people get it. They come dressed for me because they know that they are also part of the art, and the conversation is part of the art, because we've forgotten the feeling of conversation, the art of conversation. And then 1 to 200 or more is just, as I might MC or speak and host to many. But then, I think what's really, while that is amazing, and the conversation, the art of conversation is really, it really titillates me. But there's like this particular intimate number of people in a room, especially people who move people, that really turns me on. Like I think that a lot of the people who move people are like me, like overachiever in some way, like, right? We're like da 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 da, and then it's especially folks who have this like perfectionist, everything the best kind of I can't make any mistakes. I can really relate with you, and it's really fun to spoil you with food, love, permission, pleasure, because like we need it to unlock ourselves.
Ooh, fun. I love being spoiled with food and pleasure and all of that. So how do you design the relationship that you would like?
How do I design? Oh, it's kind of surreal, but I'm finding that everything on the outside really comes from what my beliefs are on the inside. And it really, I know like I'm saying all these things like, oh, just be yourself, or oh, work on you and then the right person will come. But we're in this world with people who seem to blame like outside circumstances for why things aren't happening. So, okay, first of all, like, maybe it's like I'm not happy with my body or the way that I look in particular clothes, when really there's these underlying things about, hey, giving myself the permission to express myself through what I'm wearing. So actually taking what I help people with is really feeling the pleasure of dressing up. Like dressing up, having big banana energy here at Art Basel in Miami, like you make the people around you smile. And so there's kind of this underlying like belief of like, I'm not allowed to express myself. Or there might be an underlying belief of I'm not worth, taking care of myself. So then just because of there's this kind of, one becomes fearful of one's own, best, highest, most powerful self. So there's all this underlying stuff, and once a person gets a little push in the right direction, right? Like we all are already complete, but I found that I had all the great ingredients of being me on the table, but it was only like way later on in life, like mid-30s, that I found two great teachers, Lauren Handel-Zander and Shelley Lefkoe, who they're two incredible shepherds, coaches, one around dream design, the other around beliefs elimination. Like really being open to that help and getting that help to just put those ingredients in the pot in the right way, in the most empowered way, staying true to my own dream, really eliminating beliefs like I am unlovable and I am not important, like how, stuff. Hey, another thing is actually owning up to the fact that actually admitting to, I'm not really good at dating, and I wonder what it is. I wonder what it is that I'm doing again and again and again, and that's leading to the same result, and that is what we call insanity. So I found that once I eliminate a particular belief, and then I step out into the evening, I recommend a little bit of meditation and masturbation before stepping out into the night, because, kind of have, especially really for female identifying folks, we're like this fountain of abundance and creation, and so kind of get the party started before the party, and then you're like, wow, she has such a glow, like a je ne sais quoi about her. So,
I definitely know that glow.
So like eliminating that belief, right? Like the other night here in Miami, I did okay, I'm gonna take the time to do a session with Shelly. Then like when I stepped out into the evening and into the morning, I was like, oh my gosh, like everything is just different. Like people are seeing me differently. Like because every single cell in my body is now operating under a new belief system because our beliefs create our reality. I am just meeting all of these people, and it's not just about men, but just about women and about just people who embrace me and say things that feel like they're reading out of the script of my subconscious. Like one morning, one dude came up to me and was like, "You are valuable," and I was like, "What? Who are you? Like, wait, just stop reading my diary."
Notes in the diary, you are valuable. That's what I'm going to write down today.
And I switched the name of my journal. So words are so important, right? Mm-hmm. Like be so careful about what you say to yourself. So I changed the word journal to diary to make it more cute and sexy.
Okay.
And like romantic.
Ooh, what's another word I can turn that seems normal, but I want to turn it cute and sexy?
Oh, wow. Well, this is a... So you know how there's this, I mean, consent is so important. It's such a tough topic, you know, just really like, yeah, so hard. But maybe because it's a necessary step and it's a heavy, big step for us, maybe tweaking it to, you know, the permission word, something a little bit, permission to me feels a little bit more like dainty and like kind of a, like the Dining Dominatrix has a whole set of rules of modern dating. I mean, I don't have it all figured out, but I have some things figured out.
Tell me some of your rules.
Oh, okay. This is an important topic. I'm curious. What are some of your rules, just so I can really ground with you? Yeah.
When I'm dating someone.
Yeah. What are like just like what have you figured? Give me a taste of what you figured out.
Okay. I like to feel respected and heard, like we are equals. You know, because I like a little power dynamics play, but only sexually, not in my lifestyle. You know, I want to feel like I'm your partner. Should I get spicier? Like,
oh yeah, I mean,
women come first. That's one of my big rules.
I mean, obviously, because, you know, I don't know, it's like the male orgasm is so anticlimactic.
Yeah. And like I can keep going after, you know, like we can go again and again versus like once you're done, you're done.
Yeah, it's also where you became born, you know, like the pussy is the original trauma. Woo!
Just flying out.
And the original pleasure, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of my rules. Okay, this rules. And by the way, are you more interested in like personally or like big picture?
Both.
Like my deal. Okay.
Yeah, both.
Okay. Well, rules for me. You really have to have minimal dietary restrictions. Like that's really hard for me. Yeah, I'm such a sharer. Like, I think on my now defunct OkCupid profile a long time ago was like sharing without share plates. You know, kind of thing. I think I don't want to go into like a laundry list, but I think one that I've really scratched my head about is I do enjoy people who are very, and I think it's because it's kind of who I am, like paradoxical in a person, like you've got like both sides going on. You know, the people who are like, oh, I only like this, or I never do this, those words are just like, most likely it's hard for me to, I'm like such a full menu person. Like I want to have all the experiences of co-creating a whole entire life with my, you know, future person to do life with, and then with my communities. Like I'm highly polyamorous in terms of community. I just really love to contribute to and receive from and get along with so many different people. And so this person is going to have to really be able to experience this like mishmash of grand and intimate, life together, doing all of the things. And I'm kind of this hopeless romantic that turned into such a hopeful romantic with some of the guidance that I've gotten. So I have these like traditional, like you said, you don't like a power dynamic in real life. I kind of have like a bit of a it's still cute when doors are opened, that's still hot to me, like as the context for all sorts of dynamics in the bedroom. So I have this mix of totally full menu, like hate even labels. Like labels help us to really relate with one another and to ask for that consent and permission. Like it is important because humans like to be able to understand and define things. But I've found myself to be who I am, really doing it my own way. More on that in another question. So that's some of my things that are like my values and vision, things that are important to me, and sort of rules. In terms of rules for dating for all, okay. Remember what we were saying about beliefs? Mm-hmm. So I'm shocked at how much we're in a city like New York or LA, and there's no one good in New York. How many times do we hear that? It's like
I definitely say that when I'm looking at dating apps in Miami.
Of course, yeah, totally, yeah. Right? But then it's not like if you move to Miami or that you move to Wisconsin, it's going to be any better. It's not like, we're not, as much as we have all of the kind of eat, pray, love fantasies about going far away and meeting our person, and yes, while that does happen, most likely than not, your person lives likes a kind of a shape of a neighborhood or in nature. The person spends most of her days time somewhere where the lifestyle, like some of the pragmatic aspects match, or the pragmatic aspects that lead to the feeling aspects. So in New York City, in Nolita, Bowery neighborhood, I feel this luxury of being able to walk everywhere. So probably my person's gonna get off on that too. But it's kind of like a very basic logistical thing, but it gives me so much pleasure. Okay, so stop saying there's no one good in New York, because if you keep saying that, you're gonna meet no one good in New York. Okay, beliefs. One more. Two. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, maybe open up your awareness at the bar or the restaurant that you love going to, where you're a regular at, because probably that person is solo dining at the thing that you love so much, because y'all have the same taste, or same thing for rock climbing, right? Really do the things that give you that big feeling of pleasure, and then, right? If there was a public place where we could hang out in bathtubs, I would go do that, or if we could have a group thing of petting puppies and MDMA, which I will host. Yeah, that's one of my ideas. Or if we could all get massages together, right?
I love that. I want to come to your puppy party.
right? Would that be? And then we get the same kinds of folks. Maybe people bring their dogs. I love it when dog owners in New York, they could tell it's a couple and there's got two dogs. Woof, woof. Okay. So second rule. This one's really important, really boring. You're gonna hate it. Well, you might not hate it because tell me what you think. This is so. First of all, dating apps, linear, sucky, tech and human have not in so many industries, tech and human, whether it's Web3, whether it's travel planning, or whether it's hospitality or dating, tech and human have to really be so together. And I think we are in a time where through meditation, consciousness, and psychedelics and stuff, and more people getting more therapy, people are working on themselves more than ever, and we want to connect, but the tools are so broken that it's actually devastating. So okay, in that case, let's make up for some of what lacks in what the tools are today. So when you meet someone whether it's a blind date that a friend set you up on the old-fashioned way, or whether it's like a swipe on, the typical Tinder, which is like really hard to sort through, right? Like so much noise. It's really simple. Actually get on a video call first. Like get on a FaceTime or WhatsApp. Like actually do the thing. Like why would you get all dolled up to go have like 2 hours of your life wasted on someone that you didn't like just have a quick 10-minute thing? Hey, like what are your deal breakers? Bing, bang, boom. Like before you fall into lust with another, like with a person that is not even right. Like I'm surprised at how many people date for like a year and it's like, oh, you don't want kids, and like why would you even put yourself through that? So have that courage to do that video call and ask the questions.
I will definitely have the courage for that next time. Do you have any tips for anyone looking to explore self-pleasure? Like how do you get over that hump of, what do I do? How do I get there? Where do I start?
Okay, this one's such a fun one because I actually, believe it or not, I really only recently had like meaning in my mid-30s, had the realization, the imagination to believe that I could orgasm from just penetration alone. It was previously inaccessible to my imagination. So then, and by the way, like that dude wasn't even the one who did it. It was like the acid that gave me the like imagination, and then I was like, I went home and like did it on my own. It's like, isn't that great?
Just unlocking new spots.
It's like the video game of like, this is my video game avatar. I mean, of course, I'm sitting here talking about love and pleasure. What else am I doing on a Sunday fun day?
Sunday fun day.
Yeah,
this is the best.
This is my life. Yeah, this is like, okay. So, I was born to. Okay. So then, that opened up a whole new menu of possibilities that became extra delicious to me. But then, right, like that made me be so much more wanty. And then the wantiness across all of the aspects of a person that, and like I'm like a snacker, but then I'm also like, definitely saving myself for sushi omakase. I'm using all these food metaphors here. What I mean? Like I'll get some hot Cheetos from the like gas station, but okay. So I really wanted to want things, right? Like, I want like the equivalent of sushi omakase on like a very highly frequent basis. And then it's scary to want what it is that you want, because what if I don't get it, right? So with that in mind, I realized maybe, and by the way, we will get to the how do you give yourself the permission to self-pleasure better and better. By the way, that was it. It's like, hey, if you don't get what you need, but you have a new imagination for it, then you go pursue it yourself, right? I love a solo dining experience.
Solo dining experience is what I'm thinking of, then I think I love it too.
So at one point, then shortly thereafter, my up-leveling of my imagination for all the ways that I can be pleasured. Another thought is, I realized I would have to spoil myself with pleasure in order to spoil others with pleasure.
Yes.
Okay, right? So that's another thing. You actually have to be selfish first before you're able to, Otherwise, it's like you're doing it purely in service. And by the way, service, like a massage, like, working as a bartender, it's gonna be a better feeling. People can feel how much you're actually enjoying it. Right, so if you're doing it purely in this only self-sacrificial kind of way, unless you're like a true submissive and that's like the thing of the thing, but usually, I take that back. Even that, you can tell when someone really is getting off on service, and that is what is hot. That's what's not so incredibly twisted and naughty about it, right? Also, when someone in the submissive role believes that he or she is well, actually subconsciously in an extra dirty way, actually commanding the situation, right? Because you're providing the pleasure and the person is happy with you, and so you somehow have this sense of control because you can, right? So the topping, bottom to top. Okay. So, okay, can you remind me where I was? I forgot. I was in like a visual mode.
We were talking about submission. We were talking about self-pleasure.
Oh yeah, self-pleasure. Okay. Yes. So I know I'm giving you all this context to make this moment really really make sense as to like who I am. So, and who you can be with me. Like I invite you to join this adventure. So, the thing about dildos is that when you want them, it's kind of like dirty socks and you forgot to take them to the laundry. Mm-hmm. Like when you need them, it's already too late. You're like already like,
horny. My battery's dead or something.
Yeah, horny for clean socks. You're like, okay, right? So one time I was like, I finally made it to Babeland and Lower East Side. Quick walk away from where I live, where I can manifest anything, whether it's tiramisu or dildos or world-class cocktails, omakase. Yes, okay. So I walk over and I'm like ready to take matters into my own hands because I realize, okay, now I can orgasm on penetration, and then now I can take matters into my own hands because I'm an independent woman. So I was like, I gotta like compare what my options are, So I went to Babeland. Looked at all the options, had a very grown-up conversation with the shopkeeper, and there's so many choices, so many colors. I mean, really, like if you haven't taken yourself to a sex toy selection in some time, like really go do that. So that's like my big advice. Now you can't return the things, so you really have to like, do a little trial and error. The pieces are pretty pricey, and I got this like stamp card, like bubble tea or your favorite coffee shop, and I was like, okay, now I have the stamp card, and I realized I wanted to experiment further, and return back like within the week, and then use the stamp card just like my Asian mom would have done for bubble tea, right? I was like, okay, I'm now like this, I'm taking after my own mother, I'm bringing a stamp card into the shop, but we're like doing it for different things, perhaps.
I love that.
So have a sense of humor about it, and really having that feeling more, like having the feeling of, okay, this feels good to me, and taking matters into your own hands and really being like, I'm gonna go get that or do that, right? It does bring in more of that. Like, yeah.
Wow. So I'm going to finish up with why not? It's my new segment where...
why not?
I would love to, if you could share something, a time you were like, why not? I'll try it. And it turned out really well for you. And you enjoyed it. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, I have to cheers you for that.
Cheers.
I have so many stories. Okay, so this one especially pleased the Dining Dominatrix. Okay. So one time I stayed in town for a day more because I was supposed to have some dinner meeting the next day and was meant to be in Italy for a gig. So I brought myself to a dinner party where there were 6 women and then one dude, the naked chef, and I didn't know what it was all about. It was like a friend who invited me, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll put on my best kimono and just go have a time here. And this chef was not exactly naked. He was like wearing this like cool like loincloth and like had like glow in the dark paint, and he was like this kind of just, and of course I'm kind of like a bit of a food snob, so I'm like, oh, who is this chef? And like, I'm just like, what, like, where am I? I'm open though, and I just open, ready to surrender to the magic. And that's, I think, something I'm really looking for in a person, the like ultimate wing, the ultimate like dream dinner party permanent, seat at the table, because I think the people who sit at my table are just pretty inspiring and pretty dope. So I'm at this table with like 5 other fabulous women, and it turns out that each course is paired with a different sensual delight. And it wasn't like super, X-rated or anything. It was like, like this head scratcher thing or different delightful sensations. So I'm like really good at life, and because I love massage, and massage is always a clue to like the path I should follow in the evening. Like massage always unlocks magic for me. And I choose the foot massage because I'm like, oh yeah. So because there was only one dude, like I thought I would love to co-host with you, like different dudes, different sensation. Like we have plenty of dudes, like 1-to-1 ratio or many to one ratio, but I only had there was only one dude to 6 women. Mm-hmm. So now I'm getting nerdy about the setup. So I'm getting excited. Okay, so I'm getting a foot massage under the table, and above the table I'm asking, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite sex? These 2 questions I love to ask and talk about endlessly with just about anyone. Like at Dream Dinner Party, I'll bring people up to the stage and talk, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite sex? And put it all together. It tells me a lot about you. We'll do that later. Okay. Yeah, we'll get people together for dinner. So I'm getting my feet massaged under the table. I'm doing a little bit of a impromptu podcast conversation above the table. Everyone's like, yum. And then the naked chef under the table was like, may I use my mouth? And I was like, oh, yeah, totally. And I actually have had my toes sucked a few times, but under a dinner table, that was this tableau out of my dreams I didn't know I even had. When you don't even know. I was like, okay, this works for me. I'm meant to be here. Yeah. Dream dinner party of life. So that was really intriguing experience because it was this distraction that really it was almost like a boot camp of pleasure. I had to maintain my focus talking to people above the table when under the table there was something naughty going on, and he even cleaned my feet with the washcloth and a base. It was all near. And then actually I'm gonna give you a little cherry on top or banana on top and give you a little taste of the origin of the big banana energy here at Art Basel. So later on in the evening, we all put on harnesses with bananas and put chocolate sauce all over, and I got chocolate all over my kimono, and we ate one another's bananas. And then that was what inspired the Banana Glory Hole art piece and performance that I did at Art Basel last year, where I changed people's lives by giving them the permission to put it in your mouth. And then the sprinkles now is that when this naked chef asked me for the help to get the glow-in-the-dark paint off of his body after we're all said and done. And he was like, oh yeah, what do you do? Yeah, I'm the Dining Dominatrix. I do art, I do business. No. And then I'm like, what do you do? And he goes, oh, and then actually, in this case, I'm respecting someone's privacy, even though this was not a secret because everyone was there to witness it. But I'm going to be a little bit conservative and describe this person as a fellow performance artist who has created one of the most impactful, many people, families have experienced his art and performance and his concept that has been very commercially successful. It's like a household name. And so to meet a fellow artist, performance artist, and actually collaborate in improvisation, not even knowing that I was the Dining Dominatrix and he was this icon, was just blew my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing and chatting with me. I had such a great conversation. I can't wait to come to one of your dinners. Cheers to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was delightful.
Yes.
Yeah, we should do Sunday
fun day.
Brunch.
Self-pleasure Sunday fun day every Sunday.
Thank you so much.